Have you noticed that the harder you chase more, the emptier you start to feel? You buy something new. The happiness lasts a few days, then fades. You hit a goal you once thought was everything, but shortly after, you want the next thing, bigger, pricier, farther. This exhaustion isn't because life is too harsh. It's because we don't know where to stop in the endless chase of our own desires. Seneca warned us about this 2,000 years ago. No one is poor who knows what enough is. The problem is, no one ever taught us how to know enough. If you've ever been stuck in this cycle, comment one so you know you are not alone. Have you ever felt like your life has turned into a race with no finish line? You run with everything you have, believing happiness is somewhere ahead. But the more you chase it, the farther it seems to slip away. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I buy that, when I achieve this, when I get just a little more. But once you reach it, the joy lasts only for a fleeting moment, then vanishes like smoke. The scary part is this. Most of us have lived with that emptiness for so long that we've accepted it as normal. We think it's just how modern life is. We think constant wanting is proof that we're ambitious, driven, alive. But the truth is much colder. This endless loop of desire is quietly draining your inner peace, day by day, hour by hour, and you don't even realize it. This pain isn't like the big tragedies you can name. It's a slow ache, subtle, persistent, seeping into every corner of your life. When you scroll through social media and see someone living a life better than yours, when you walk into a store and feel like you need something new to feel okay, when you look at your accomplishments and wonder why they no longer excite you, that feeling of not enough follows you like a shadow. And the more you run from it, the longer it stretches behind you. You keep believing the problem is what you haven't achieved yet, what you haven't bought yet, what you haven't become yet. But Seneca already warned us 2,000 years ago. The problem isn't the world outside, it's the mind inside. Here's the truth we try to avoid. You're not hurting because you lack something. You're hurting because your expectations grow faster than your achievements. You're hurting because your desires sprint ahead of your heart's ability to enjoy anything. You're hurting because your brain keeps demanding a stronger hit of dopamine, bigger, louder, more glamorous, and you keep chasing it without ever asking, where is the finish line? Every time you achieve something, your mind instantly shifts the target, almost as if it's afraid you'll stop long enough to notice you already have enough. What makes this worse is that modern society encourages this exhaustion. Ads tell you to buy more. Social media forces you to compare yourself to edited versions of strangers. The definition of success changes daily, pulling you into a race you never signed up for, but somehow feel obligated to run. You convince yourself that if you just work harder, push a little more, sacrifice a little longer, things will finally feel right. But the result is always the same: tiredness, disappointment, and a quiet sadness you can't explain. And you are not alone. There are nights you lie awake, unsure why you feel heavy. Mornings when you look around your room, your job, your life, and feel a strange emptiness nothing seems to fill. You blame yourself for not being good enough, disciplined enough, driven enough. But if you pause for a moment, you'll see the real problem. You're living by desire, not awareness. Seneca understood this long ago. The rich man is not the one who has the most, but the one who knows what enough is. Because if you don't know enough, nothing in the world will ever make you happy. When your eyes are always on what you don't have, You become blind to what you do have. When you let desire lead your life, you lose your ability to choose your life. You trade your time, the one thing you can never get back, for moments of joy that die in minutes. And one day you find yourself standing in a room full of things you once dreamed of, yet feeling just as empty as before. The issue isn't that you want more. Humans are wired to want more. The real question is that desire worth the cost of your peace? Meanwhile, the world whispers constantly, want more, do more, be more. Nothing you have is ever enough. And that noise makes you forget a simple truth. Happiness doesn't come from more. It comes from enough. If you've ever felt like you're running a race with no finish line, if you've ever achieved something only to feel empty a moment later, if you've ever felt tired because of your own desires, comment 1. And if you feel grounded and untouched by this cycle, comment 0. Those two numbers will say more about where you are in life than you might think. There are tiny, quiet moments that reveal the truth we've spent years running from. Imagine a simple evening. Nothing special, nothing dramatic. The noise of the day has finally settled, and it's just you, the room you've known for years, and your own thoughts. The soft yellow light, the old wooden desk, the familiar things you once bought, telling yourself, once I get this, I'll feel happier. And in your hand is the newest thing you just bought. Maybe it's a faster laptop, a pair of shoes that made you feel confident, or a phone you reviewed hundreds of times before finally deciding to buy it. When you unboxed it, the excitement was real, so real you felt like you had just touched a better version of yourself. But now, a few days later, or a few hours, or even just one quiet night, that same item sits on the table like every other thing that once thrilled you. It sits there as silent proof of a truth we rarely dare to face. The joy of getting what you want always fades faster than you expect. And the emptiness that follows always comes back, sometimes deeper than before. You look at the item in front of you, but what you really feel isn't satisfaction. It's a soft sigh, a quiet disappointment, a vague heaviness you can't even name. That is the moment the truth appears. You're not tired because the item isn't good enough. You're tired because the joy it gives is always too small for the enormous expectations you place on it. You're tired because what you want always outgrows what you can actually feel. And the scariest part? You still believe the next purchase will be different. That next time, you'll finally feel enough. But next time always becomes this time. And this time is exactly like the last. A silent cycle. No sound, no warning. Slowly wearing down your peace. You sit in this familiar room, staring at the new item like you're staring at your own journey. How many times have you told yourself, just this one more thing, then I'll feel okay? How many times have you traded time, sleep, energy, and worry for something that ended up feeling ordinary just like everything else? How many times have you convinced yourself that the emptiness would disappear once you had more? And in that quiet moment, you finally see the truth you can't avoid anymore. The problem was never the item. The problem is the thing hiding behind it, the endless hunger that drains you from the inside. This hunger demands more, faster, bigger. It keeps you waiting for joy, waiting to buy what you want, waiting for recognition, waiting for the next milestone. It turns your life into a constant chase where you are always behind, always lacking, always breathless. You think you chose the item, but desire chose for you. It took your hand, pulled you forward and whispered that happiness was always just a little further ahead. It erased your sense of enough, twisted your perception, kept you blind to what is already here. And the moment you reach what you wanted, desire changes shape and points somewhere new. So you chase again. Not because you're in control, but because you've become a servant to a voice that never stops whispering. In this ordinary room, nothing special, nothing dramatic, you suddenly see something extraordinary. You've been controlled without knowing it. You've been living in a world that teaches you to want more so you feel worthy, to buy more so you feel valuable, to define success as never enough. But tonight, with that new item sitting silently on the table, you see the truth. Your exhaustion didn't come from the world outside. It came from the invisible war inside you, where desire wins more often than reason. This moment is enough for you to realize that this isn't about one purchase, one impulse, or one mistake. It's a pattern, steady, dangerous, and deeply ingrained. A pattern that steals your ability to enjoy the present. A pattern that makes you chase the next thing instead of appreciating the now. A pattern that makes your very breath feel rushed, as if life is forcing you to run faster than you're meant to. Maybe you've never said this out loud. Maybe you didn't even notice it until tonight, until you looked at that new item resting quietly on the table and realized the joy had already left. But that emptiness, that heaviness, that quiet disappointment is the clearest reminder of all. You've been losing something far more important than money. You've been losing your inner freedom. When Seneca said, "The rich man is not the one who has much, but the one who knows what enough is," he wasn't talking about minimalism or self-denial. He was talking about a kind of freedom most people never experience in their entire lives. Freedom from endless wanting, freedom from comparison, freedom from the cycle of short highs and long lows, freedom to look at an object and see it simply as an object, not a cure for the emptiness inside. And because of that, this ordinary evening isn't ordinary at all. It's the moment you finally see yourself clearly, the moment the mirror of truth appears, the moment you realize that unless you learn to stop, desire will keep dragging you forward, leaving behind nothing but fleeting joys and lingering emptiness. You don't have to tell anyone. You only have to admit to yourself that it's time to ask, the thing I'm chasing, is it really where my peace lies? And that question alone is the first step back to the inner peace you lost long ago. There's a quiet truth that most of us are afraid to face. It's not your circumstances that steal your peace. It's your endless desires. And this matters not because it sounds philosophical, but because it touches how you live every hour, every minute. It shapes the small decisions you think are harmless. It hides inside the tired sighs you blame on work or stress. The truth is, much of your pain comes from one single fact. You have never truly felt enough. Think about it. Every morning, even if you don't say it out loud, your mind wakes up with an invisible list. I need this. I must achieve that. I'm missing something. You scroll through social media and feel like everyone else is living a better life than you. You rush to work, feeling like time is running faster than your ability to keep up. You think the pressure comes from society, responsibilities, deadlines. But if you look deeper, you'll see this. What exhausts you isn't life being too hard. It's the silent force of desire pulling you in every direction. And this matters because desire never stops. The more you feed it, the bigger it grows. The more you listen to it, the more it controls you. The scariest part? You don't even realize you're dependent on it, like a thirsty person drinking seawater. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. Desire creates a false sense of lack, and you use that illusion to make real decisions. That's why nearly all your worries share one root. You fear losing your job because you desire perfect security. You fear losing someone you love because you desire certainty in something fragile. You fear failure because you desire a perfect image of yourself. You feel inferior because you desire status in a race you never chose to join. Every anxiety, every comparison, every fear is just a branch of the same root. And if you don't pull out that root, the leaves will grow back tomorrow. Desire shapes not only your emotions, it distorts your perception of the world. It turns everything into a transaction. Time becomes something you trade to obtain more. People become comparisons you measure yourself against. You see yourself as a never-ending project that must be upgraded again and again. Desire warps your ability to feel present. You eat a delicious meal, but your mind is already thinking about the next one. You reach one goal, but treat it only as a stepping stone to the next. You hold things others would dream of having, yet still ache for something unnamed. This is why millions of people who have everything, a stable job, a loving family, a comfortable life, still feel empty. Desire does not allow you to enjoy the present. It drags your eyes toward the future, your heart toward what you lack, and your mind toward an illusion of happiness that always stays just out of reach. And it matters because desire doesn't just steal joy, it steals your freedom. When you live under the rule of desire, you are no longer the one choosing. You are being pulled, pushed, manipulated by the things you think you want. You become a product of unmet cravings, not of your own clarity. Seneca didn't warn us about desire for the sake of philosophy. He saw a truth that has not changed in 2,000 years. The more a person desires, the more they lose. They lose time chasing. They lose energy holding on. They lose peace fearing loss. And they lose themselves in a race with no finish line. If you don't learn to stop, desire will take your entire life, just to give you moments of brief pleasure that fade in seconds. The danger of desire is that it disguises itself as motivation. It makes you think you're progressing. It makes you think you're growing. But look closely. Motivation lifts you up. Desire wears you down. Motivation brings clarity. Desire brings confusion. Motivation lets you move forward with peace. Desire fills you with fear, urgency, and impatience. And the truth is, you don't actually want more. You want peace. You think you want wealth, but you actually want safety. You think you want success, but you actually want to feel worthy. You think you want beautiful things, but you actually want to feel fulfilled. All of these exist inside you, but you choose the hardest path by trying to fill an inner emptiness with outer things. This is why understanding desire is not just a Stoic teaching. It's the key to escaping a life that always feels lacking. It allows you to ask yourself, do I really need this? Or is this just another shape of my insecurity? It gives you the power to enjoy what you already have without fear. It frees you from comparison, pressure, and the noise of the world. Most importantly, it gives back the freedom inside your own mind, something you lost long ago. When Seneca said the wise do not regret the past nor fear the future, he wasn't just talking about time, he was talking about desire. A person who is not ruled by desire is not dragged backward by what they lacked, and not thrown forward by what they have yet to gain. They stand firmly in the present. the only place where life actually exists. That is why this lesson matters. Because if you don't understand desire, you'll spend your life chasing a happiness that does not exist. But if you see desire for what it truly is, you will start seeing the world differently. And once you change the way you see the world, you change the way you live in it. There's a moment everyone experiences, yet very few are brave enough to name. The moment you realize you've spent far too long trying to fill a void that nothing outside of you can ever fill. You run, you push, you buy more, you achieve more. But the more you gain, the more exhausted you feel. And the harsh truth is this: you can't keep living like that forever. So where is the way out? The first thing you must understand is that desire cannot be defeated by having more. It only stops when you finally look at it directly. Seneca never told us to abandon joy, give up achievements, or live in self-denial. He taught something far harder: to control ourselves in the face of desire. Because if you don't control your desires will control you. And a life ruled by craving has never been a free life. The process begins with one simple question, simple but powerful enough to break the cycle that has shaped your life for years. Whenever a new desire appears, instead of rushing toward it out of instinct, pause for a few seconds and ask, do I really need this? Or is it just hunger pretending to be a goal? This tiny question is the space between instinct and choice, between reacting and reflecting, between living on impulse and living with clarity. It sounds simple, but most people have forgotten they even have the right to pause. Once you start asking this question, you're forced to slow down. And in that slowing down, something hidden becomes visible. You don't need nearly as much as you think. So many things you chase aren't born from true desire, but from fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of others getting ahead. But fear has never been a solid foundation for a life. When you uncover the real motive behind your wants, you'll realize that 70% of them aren't needs at all. They're just echoes of a restless mind. The second lesson Stoicism teaches is the art of enjoying without clinging. This is one of the hardest lessons, but also one of the most liberating. You can enjoy a good meal, but don't make it the standard for tomorrow's happiness. You can love someone, but don't make them responsible for soothing your insecurities. You can own something beautiful, but don't allow it to become your emotional anchor. When you can enjoy without gripping, you step into a new kind of freedom, a freedom not born from rejecting life, but from refusing to be chained by it. And the third lesson, simple yet profound: practice gratitude instead of comparison. Gratitude is not a soft, gentle feeling like many people think. It's a form of quiet strength, a mental discipline. To say I have enough may sound easy, but for someone who has lived inside the storm of endless desire, those three words are a revolution that happens in silence, but changes you more deeply than any race you've ever run. When you practice these three things, asking yourself, enjoying without clinging, and being grateful, you don't change the world. You change how the world touches you. You can't stop desires from appearing, but you can choose not to obey them. You can't change the nature of life, but you can change your response to it. And right there, freedom begins. You'll start to see small changes. Ads won't trigger you as easily. Comparisons won't drag you under. You won't feel pressured to keep up with anyone. Not because you've become passive, but because you're finally seeing life through clear eyes. You'll make decisions more lightly. You'll appreciate simple things you once overlooked. Life will feel slower, but deeper, and one day you'll realize you've stepped out of the old cycle, not because you outran it, but because you stopped running altogether. You stood still, you observed, and you chose your own direction. That's when you finally understand what Seneca meant by inner freedom. Not freedom that comes from owning more, but freedom that comes from being controlled by less. If something inside you knows it's time to stop letting desire rule your life, leave a small comment, even just a number or a single word, to tell yourself that you're ready to change. Because this journey doesn't begin with a big decision. It begins with a small moment of awareness, right here as you read this. And that moment may be the first step back to a peace you didn't even realize you'd lost. There's a quiet sign that tells you you're changing, not because life has become easier, but because something inside you has begun to shift. And this shift doesn't come with fireworks or big milestones. It arrives in moments so small only you can see them. But those small moments are the clearest proof of a profound truth. When you learn to control your desires, the world outside stays loud, but your heart becomes calmer than ever. You notice the first changes when you stand before the things that used to pull you in so easily. Ads that once hit your weak spots now pass by like simple images. Things you once wanted at any cost now make you think twice. The urge to have something right now fades, replaced by a calm you never thought you could feel. Not because you forced yourself to give up, but because you finally saw through desire's illusion. You know now that the joy it promises is short, and the emptiness that follows lasts much longer. And once you see this clearly, you can never go back to the way you were. You start to feel freedom in the smallest things. You walk into a store without feeling pressured to buy something, just to feel worthy. You scroll through social media without feeling heavy inside. You hear others brag about what they've achieved, and you no longer feel left behind. These small shifts become the first bricks in rebuilding your inner strength. But the deepest result isn't in buying less or comparing less. It's in the lightness, the relief you never thought you could feel, a relief that doesn't come from adding more, but from letting go. Letting go of expectations, letting go of comparison, letting go of the race you were never meant to run. You start to live a little slower, and in that slowness, you notice things you once overlooked. A simple meal that suddenly feels meaningful. A quiet conversation that warms you in a different way. A silent moment at the end of the day that no longer scares you, but gives your heart a place to rest. Deep down, you feel another change forming. You no longer rely on anything outside yourself to determine your worth. Praise doesn't lift you too high. Criticism doesn't break you like before. You no longer judge a day by what you gained, bought, or proved. You begin to judge life by the calm within you, by whether you lived in alignment with your values. And that kind of freedom is something even the most successful people may never reach. You also notice you're less afraid. Before, every time you gained something, you immediately feared losing it. The more you had, the more terrified you became of losing it. But once desire no longer controls you, that fear melts away in a way your mind can't fully explain. You realize true happiness isn't in what you hold, but in your ability to release it when the time comes. And when you're no longer afraid of losing, you live lighter, more naturally, more honestly. One day you'll recognize the deepest shift of all. You've changed from someone who looked outward to feel full into someone who looks inward to find peace. You've shifted from trying to fill your life with possessions, achievements, and approval to realizing that what you truly needed was a heart not driven by endless desire. You've moved from depending on the world to becoming internally independent in a way no one can touch. And then you'll understand why Seneca said, "The wise are content with the present, do not regret the past, and do not fear the future." Not because they have everything, but because they don't depend on anything to feel okay. They can stand in an empty room and still feel full. They can walk through an ordinary day and still feel joy. They can face loss without falling apart because they found something no one can buy, no one can steal, and nothing outside can break: inner peace. The greatest result of this journey isn't that you change the world, but that you change your relationship with the world. You still work. You still love. You still pursue goals. You still grow. But you no longer do these things from emptiness. You do them from fullness. You don't chase to fill a void. You pursue because you want to experience life, to grow, to live true to who you are. And when you live from fullness, the world feels lighter, gentler, and you become stronger, freer, more grounded. And once you reach this awareness, you no longer need big philosophies to prove anything. You only need to look into your heart and see that it's no longer pulled around by things it once believed it couldn't live without. You only need to look at your life and realize you found something many people spend a lifetime searching for: stillness in the middle of constant change. And that stillness, not achievements, not possessions, is the true proof that you've learned the art of mastering desire, the art of mastering yourself. In the end, what you've been searching for was never in the things you tried so hard to own. It was always in the way you looked at them. Once you step out of the spiral of desire and stand still long enough to listen to yourself, you realize something profound. Peace isn't a reward for those who have more. It's a gift for those who know how to stop. The world outside will stay loud. It will keep tempting you, pushing you, urging you to run faster. But you no longer get dragged around the way you used to. You have the right to choose your own pace, to choose what is truly worthy of your mind and your time. And if these words make you feel like you're ready for a new direction, not a dramatic one, not an extreme one, just a quiet return to the fullness already inside you, then follow the channel so you don't miss the next deep Stoic lesson. Who knows, it may be very soon you'll discover that the freedom you've been chasing for so long was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to come home,